Hey everyone, DM Rob here, and tonight we are unlocking a Patreon episode from a few months ago where we talk about some DM advice that was given by Ed Greenwood and an old Dragon magazine. This is actually some really interesting advice. It's also a great look into the history of D&D and really shows you how far we've come. So I like this one a lot. I think that it's relevant, and so we wanted to open it up for everybody, and I hope you like it.
You better roll them dice. You never know if it could change your life. Take a chance, you need a wrong or right. You never know if you don't roll them dice.
Hello, Matt.
Oh, hello, Rob.
Welcome back. Welcome to welcome to the pod, Matt.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for having me on. I'm all jazzed up. I don't know how good it is for my long-term health and well-being to drink 5 cups of coffee a day, but
well, I've been doing it for a decade or more, and all that happens is I have a really twitchy eye and heart palpitations. So it's fine. I'm sure that it's just fine.
I feel great, except for every part of my body that doesn't. But anyway, this isn't health chat. Welcome to Dungeon Master of None.
I'm Dungeon Master Rob.
I'm Dungeon Master Matt. We're the only podcast in the universe that's a show of 2 nerdy, basically middle-aged white guys talking about a niche nerd hobby.
Yeah, I think we've really cornered the market on this extremely unique format. 2 dudes talking casually into microphones with very little preparation or any sort of professional...
Zero effort. I look at those YouTube people with their graphics and stuff. I'm like, oh Jesus, holy shit!
It seems like a lot of work. Anyway, hello patrons. This is a special bonus episode.
Oh shit!
And
yes,
for this one, we're going to be doing something special. I'm going to be delving into the ancient archives of Dungeons and Dragons material to review some very old Dungeon Master world building advice from Ed Greenwood himself.
Oh.
This article appeared...
the mage of Ontario himself.
That's right.
Or no, wait,
right.
I don't know where he's from exactly.
I would
out of reclusion.
I would have bought Ontario. Anyway, this article appeared in Dragon magazine number 63, published in 1982, and
older than both of us again.
Once again, older than both of us.
All of our reading series, cue that masterpiece theater music, come from before we were born, right? I think that's a requirement.
Well, I looked at some. I mean, I hope to someday bring some exciting things from, the 90s, when we were children, but, conscious. But all the good stuff is, all the really good stuff came in the heyday when, in the especially the early 80s when it was really, exciting stuff. And,
we can just say we were around for this in spirit. Both Rob and I believe we have immortal souls that predate and post-date our material existence, so that's fine.
Yeah,
we just hadn't, taken corporeal form yet. We were in the upper planes,
and now we're here. And this article, is called "Plan Before You Play. Think It Over, Then Map It Out" by Ed Greenwood. Matt, I'm sharing with you so that you can see an illustration. You don't need to read the article, but you will need the illustration because it is relevant. But this is what Ed Greenwood has to say. So I love
the cover of this Dragon magazine, which has
some of the old covers are really good and also really bad.
Yeah,
and
this one's really bad. It's just like 2 guys holding up a Robin Hood type.
Yeah, it's
a reverse Robin Hood.
So this is what Ed Greenwood has to say about
plan before you play, right?
Right. Think it over, then map it out.
This is the secret for Dungeon Masters.
That's right. All too often All too often, in Advanced Dungeons & Dragons trademark campaigns run by novice DMs, the world outside the dungeon is neglected or ignored altogether, serving only as a universal trading post and safe resting place. Most of the scope that the AD&D game offers is thus lost. Many such campaigns grow dull despite the DM's frantic attempts to introduce more terrible monsters and more enticing treasures and die. This is our introduction. This is the setting that Ed Greenwood has put for us.
That's really funny in that, gosh, I feel like, okay, I just feel like early game designers really underestimated like their players. I guess role-playing games as a medium are just like a medium that was built on underestimating what people can do with a storytelling type game. And they're like still doing it, like 10 years in now.
Yes, nothing has changed, but also everything has changed. But I think there's a lot that you're going to find both bewildering, exciting, and interesting. Ed Greenwood continues. The traditional advice handed to a novice DM who realizes what is happening or fated to happen to his game is pick up the World of Greyhawk trademark fantasy world setting or the City-State of the World Emperor by Judges Guild, or a similar product, and do it that way. This approach can mean failure for the poor DM if one of the players has access to the same material, or if the party begins to go off on a tangent into an area or topic not covered by the role-playing aid. And in any case, the use of such products limits the variety of play, landing the DM back in the same situation once the players use up or grow bored with the module. None of these products tell the DM how to set play in motion or how to build in contacts and activities to give the party a variety of things to do.
Well, I mean, I think this is like writing during this time. It's like, oh, this is, Ed Greenwood, visionary that he is.
Forward thinking.
He's like, oh, wait a second. Maybe players would like something besides this one world book, which, if you listen to our Greyhawk episode, there's a lot of cool things there. There's also a lot missing from that.
And you'll see, and again, Ed Greenwood is thinking ahead, and he's more forward-thinking than many of his peers, but you'll notice the emphasis is in this era of gaming on so much on the wrong type of thing. How long would it be before we got a dungeon master advice section? How long before there was any where to go to learn how to dungeon master? Probably another.
Well, there's the Dungeon Master's Guide, but yeah, those are the
Dungeon Master's Guide is spotty at best to the present day in terms of like actual advice. Greenwood continues. Len Lakofka, in his columns and issues, blah, 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 has taken the traditional route of advising how much and what type of treasure and monsters should be thrown at the fledgling party, and doing this correctly is indeed essential to the creation of a long-lived, balanced campaign. But many DMs give their players a feeling of being lockstepped through a sequence of contrived events. A single carrot held ever before their noses with blank emptiness on either side. That is...
Okay, So don't have a single path mapped out. I mean, Lynn Lakofka's advice, I haven't read those columns, I'm sure is good. I'm remembering his AD&D or D&D adventure, The Assassin's Knot, actually like a really good non-dungeon early module. It's good. You should check it out if you haven't, listeners.
So Ed Greenwood coming down firmly against railroading. Though he does not use the term, he is clearly aware of the issue and trying to prevent it.
We wouldn't have to spend so much time talking about it if it just had a more dumb name, if it was called carroting, or, like...
That is, the players have only one course to take in all circumstances, either because the DM is forcing the players into certain actions by having his world act upon them, i.e., 10 assassins suddenly ambush you, or there's an Umber Hulk between you and the exit, and it's advancing, or the king sends for you and orders you to go forth and slay the bandit lord. Bring his head back in 10 days or be hunted and slain by the royal soldiers. Rather than allowing them...
Well, one question there, like, hey, why don't those royal soldiers go hunt the bandit king if they can hunt us? I mean... By the transitive property of power levels in a game,
If the royal soldiers can defeat the party, then they can defeat the bandits. So, ipso facto, done and done. Problem solved. Greenwood continues, such "you must do this" tactics are a necessary part of any DM's bag of tricks. True. Good point, Ed Greenwood. As we discussed in our railroading episode, sometimes you gotta like get things back on track. But
right. The important point here, the really good advice that he gave was like, yeah, let your players act on the world. Just let them do things.
But if the DM uses them constantly, players tend to get fed up and the campaign proves short-lived. This was so fascinating to me. I'm just delighted that this conversation has been happening for 40 years. And it feels just as new as the last time we talked about it a month ago. And I'm sure it will feel new when another round of railroading discourse reappears after some streamer does something and we all have to talk about it again.
Again, mad props to Ed, just because, right, if you remember your Forgotten Realms lore, like, Ed Greenwood was like, if he is to be believed, like, he's been dreaming about and had visions from afar of the Forgotten Realms since he was, like, 12 or 16 or something, like, before he ever played Dungeons & Dragons, and someone who cares so much about a world, giving the advice, let your players mess up that world. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was impressed by a lot of this. He goes on. Many DMs have no problem adding depth to their games, but this is written for those who like a guiding hand or are looking for new ideas. One DM I know runs a role-playing first and foremost campaign set in a desert city. What a concept, Ed. We've had great fun playing on nights when no character drew a sword and no dice were rolled. We were merely bargained and dealt with others in the city, following up many mysteries and intrigues. When violence does occur in such a game environment, it is memorable and not humdrum hacking the way campaign plays should be.
This is an interesting question, Rob. Not to get us too sidetracked here, but
that's okay.
I think I have done this before. I am either guilty or blessed with saying this, where I'm like, I've played a session where no one rolled any dice, right?
I've done this as well. Yes.
Yeah. And I think lots of people, rightly brag about something like that because it's like, oh, we're just, talking and figuring it out. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing for the Dungeon Master. It does maybe say something about your role-playing game system, right? Because maybe a dice should be rolled at least once a session. And if your rules can't cover anything...
Well, Matt, and that's again, I've had those too, and what my concern or objection with that is that I always have fun. I'm a very experienced DM, and it places a lot of pressure and requires a lot of input from me to make those sessions work, right? I have to be switching voices, spinning tails, figuring out what happens, keeping the world going. And I love that. It works very well for me. Whenever people are like, though, you can play whatever game you want, you don't have to roll dice. I'm like, well, but what if it were not so difficult for a person to run this type of game? And that's, I think, the issue with when a D&D session has no dice rolled. I'm like, well, perhaps there is a different setting or a different way, or perhaps DM could be constructed or D&D could be constructed differently so that it didn't require. So maybe that some dice were rolled and fewer decisions had to be made by the DM.
Yeah, the problem isn't that no sword was drawn. That's cool and interesting.
That's cool,
right? It's maybe there should be some abilities people have that allow them to roll the dice.
The rules
or
should encourage
storytelling prompts.
Right. The rules should encourage your play, not be irrelevant to it.
Anyway, we're working with AD&D here.
Back on track. Okay, I'm going to skip this next part because Ed, and this is very funny, but he goes into a bunch about like how to design a game world, and he draws up a map. And he says, you could consult geography texts and, talks about agricultural land and trade routes. Anyway, he draws up a map of a inland sea with nations A, B, C, D, E, F, G around the side and one in the center called D, which are Alut, Barsheba, Kloof, Darshan, Emersey, Famarel, Geldorn, and Ged.
Oh, man, those are all Greenwood names.
Yes.
It's just like it all rhymes with stuff in the Forgotten Realms. Oh, two interesting things about this map, and I'll include a link to a snippet.
We'll make sure you can see the map
in the show notes, which is, one, It looks exactly like the map from Exalted, which did not exist at the time. I don't know if you've ever played Exalted.
I remember the Exalted map, yeah.
And two, the advice of put some letters on your map and come up with names later is really good advice.
It's a nice shortcut to getting a map built, yeah.
And another good thing about it, and I'm stealing this advice from Aaron Alston, the Star Wars and other genre author, including an RPG author. I think he wrote Champions, like 5th edition, and a bunch of other things. He once told me one of the most basic advice is write down the letters of the alphabet and give all your important characters, and in this case, world building, places are characters, names that start with a different letter. That's good advice. It helps people who don't know things as well as you keep track of stuff and not get them mixed up.
In my experience, if I am pressed for time and also moving quickly, I can come up with names, but a lot of them tend to start with the same letter. So
yeah,
don't get yourself into this trap. Write some down beforehand.
Yeah.
Okay. So he describes these, nations in general. And then says, from these threadbare descriptions, we can build forces of activity, the tensions, trade, and interests, which are the life of any world. The sea and the desert are the two natural obstacles to trade. And so there is an important overland caravan route between Kloof and Emersea, imperiled by the nomads, of course. There is also naval trade. Darshan, because of its location, is the foremost sea power, but it is weak in resources and needs goods from the other cities to survive. Alut is also hungry for resources, has a good port, and desires to expand over the barbarian kingdoms. Said kingdoms, D, E, F, and G, aren't too pleased by the idea. Geldorn, in fact, fears both Alut and Darshan, and heavily guards the Isle of Ged to preserve its naval power and independence. Geldorn is at the very end of the horseshoe-shaped caravan route and is valued for its gems, but is not a country suited for overland travel.
This map also looks like the map from that one D&D supplement that I think it was called like the Fourth Age or something.
Oh, yeah.
Mirrored. It's a good basic map.
Parts of it look also like Galarian. I mean, there are...
You can't go wrong with an inland sea, right? We all love our Caribbeans, our Mediterraneans.
Right. There are, in my opinion, a handful of classic fantasy map types. There's
the classic fantasy map type. You can't go wrong.
There's fake Europe.
Right.
There's fake England. Sometimes they're combined. There's archipelago, right? And then there's inland sea. There's Big Bay. And this is the classic types.
The other thing I would say about this method of doing some world building is it's similar to what I do when I'm trying to map out like some personalities in a tavern or in a city, right? It's just list some people and then start drawing connections between them, right? Nations here are acting basically as solid individual blocks. So
Greenwood continues, politics, social mores, and codes of conduct are matters best dealt with in detail at another time. But at a glance, one can see that the government of Alut would be a matter of pompous trappings and hallowed traditions. That of Barsheba would be close-armed force to guard the mineral wealth of the country. That of Famarel would be the most easygoing by virtue of a widely accepted code of behavior, to wit, the necessary tasks and customs farming the land, and those of Kloof and Emersea would be the most open and tolerant due to their crossroads aspect, perhaps having only a trader's code of some sort.
Okay, so definitely going with geographic determinism, right?
Yes.
Which makes sense to your players,
so.
Right?
Yes.
If you're like, all right, this is the farming aristocracy nation, they're concerned with manners and stuff. It's easy to read, it's easy to grok. It can kind of make your world feel a little bland, right? You want to kind of throw in like every fourth one doesn't really fit the stereotype of whatever culture or geography is supposed to shape it.
We haven't really talked about this in any of our world building episodes, but and it's interesting, but like geographic determinism, like there's a certain, you live in a mountainous region and your people have access to a lot of metals or precious metals, or you live in a farming, a rich farmlands, and it's a wealthy, peaceful people. I mean, I don't go in for this stuff, and Matt and I are both historians and have both read a lot about this, and geographic determinism is very much over determined, but it's, for example, like, I don't know, Britain and Japan are both isolated islands in, off the coast of a larger landmass. And I would say that, yes, they have very much in common, but they also have an awful lot that's not in common. So I would say don't lean too hard on this, but Matt's right that it makes sense, right? Like, if you want to lean into some stereotypes when you're drawing up your world, you can say, yes, this geography influenced this people in a certain way, and it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So Greenwood says, a lively situation for adventuring, and two countries in particular seem ideal sites for parties of adventurers. Geldorn, with a government whose reach and attention is turned outward and not into the wild, monster-populated interior, and with gems to be found which lure adventurers, merchants, and even official agents from all countries, and Emersea, a land of small villages or dales lightly governed by merchant lords, of necessity so as not to discourage trade. Government and law enforcement in Emersea will be light. Emersea's terrain of small...
It's always, just a reminder, if you're building a pseudo-Renaissance medieval fantasy world, all law enforcement will be light.
Yes. Law enforcement is spotty and inconsistent at best at all times.
Yes. Even today. And remember, law enfortement, 150 years old, maybe, if you're generous.
Mm-hmm. That does not mean that laws or justice do not exist. However, official law enforcement apparatus do not overestimate the prevalence of this in any time period, especially not a medieval or Renaissance time period.
I mean, this is all our fault when we're like not sure who to have, what kind of NPC to approach the player characters. Oh, it's your stereotypical Irish cop. Oh, what you lads be doing here? Best be moving it along.
Actually, we should do an episode on this, but like, I guess
on stereotypes of the Irish, Rob. I'm gonna have to say
yes, no. But that'll be a bonus. No, on law enforcement, because I mean, I think it's because we're Americans, but like my players are always asking, I don't know, is there a city watchman or a guard or whoever that I can talk to or that I have to worry about? And the answer is always yes, because of course there is. But what if?
If there wasn't?
What if we abolish the police in our games? What if we kill the cops in our heads? I mean, but
it's really hard when we're Americans, and like basically from my place of work to like everywhere I go, I see an LEO with a magic wand that can basically end anyone's life within 100 yards. So it's hard to get out of your head.
And that's the point, is that like we assume, again, we Americans especially assume the prevalence of law enforcement officers at all places and all times, but that is actually not the case. Anyway, we'll come back to that. Skipping ahead a bit, technology, religion, and accepted authority, laws, customs, and tradition will provide much of the impetus, directions, and limitations on adventure for the players. The DM must take care with the development of these things and concepts. The restrictive tenets of religion, for example, can affect trade. If Geldorn embraces the Druidic faith, it will not be the scene of legal logging operations, nor will its borders likely be open to those carrying lumber or caged wild animals being transported over land or sea.
You can have some logging. It's part of good forestry management.
Well, and I agree.
Okay.
Greenwood is not, there's very responsible ways to cut down trees, but that's okay. We get it. This brings up, people get down on the paladin, rightly so, but the truth is the dumbest OG class is the druid. Far and away the druid. The druid's restrictions on like what alignment they could be, what they believed, what items they could use and spells they could cast was dumb as shit. Just absolute, like, incomprehensible from any sort, like true neutral. What the shit is that? Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Sorry.
I'm gonna set up my coffee and my folding table like that meme of the right wing guy whose name I don't know.
Crowder.
Crowder and be like, yeah, prove me wrong. The druid should be separated into two classes. There should be a shapeshifter class and a nature spell
and a nature
class.
sage class. I agree.
It's hard to marry those two. It's okay though.
It's fine. It's fine.
I like druids.
Much of the activity of the campaign will come from the ongoing struggles between various power groups. For example, the G&D series AD&D modules put out by TSR Games depict a world of various groups: Ogre Magi, the Hill Giants, Frost Giants, Fire Giants, Kuatua, Illithids, Lolth-worshipping and elemental god-worshipping Drow nobles, all cooperating to a degree, and at the same time vying for supremacy. A party will unavoidably make allies and enemies as they take action in the midst of such conflict, and members of the party may even join opposing groups and find themselves directly involved.
This is a really solid advice in that, what is more interesting than a big bad villainous organization is one with factions, right? That's why they're evil. Is they have they're looking out for number one.
Yeah. Greenwood goes into a couple paragraphs about ruins of previous civilizations. If there should be some, there should be. And then
right. Does he sort of give the same advice, like building your present world, build a past world, label some spots on the map, and then
this is very surface level advice, which is why I'm skipping it.
Okay, well, but I mean, I'm guessing you could do the same thing. Just
you could,
start putting some letters down. Start at the end of the alphabet because they're ancient and they have weird names.
Yeah, that would be a good thing to do. In his examples, he just says, these are ruins and they're alluring, and he continues later on.
There's also an ad here you're skipping, Rob.
Oh, I am.
Would you please read the ad on the bottom left?
Electronic Super Dice Kit. Forget the hassle. This easy-to-build kit is the ultimate gaming aid. Substitutes for all dice. You select any even roll from 2 to 30 and 100. Big display speeds up your game. This is very funny.
We're laughing at this, and this costs $20 back in 1982. But when the Cylons attack and take down all our networked battle stars, this electronic super dice kit will be the only electronic dice roller that will function. The one on your app will no longer work.
That's right. You need one of these. Just for reference, this would be a $67 device in 2021.
Goddamn.
It's funny because nobody uses everybody prefers physical dice. Almost everybody. We all could have a dice roller on our phones at all times, but people like dice. This never caught on. This is one of those things that the promise of the future not fulfilled.
Not actually believe this, but kind of believe this. If you have someone at your table who just shows up and uses dice on their phone, and it's not just they forgot their dice, psychopath. Don't trust them. Don't trust their lies.
I'm going to reserve judgment, but I just like rolling dice.
Yeah, me too.
Greenwood continues, yet another factor can be added to a world, that of other world connections. Connections with other planes and other worlds, parallel prime material planes, allow a DM to use many monsters and characters, such as those found in this magazine's Giants in the Earth column. And limited experiments, such as characters from futuristic and modern settings, that otherwise could not be justified. The presence of an other world gives the DM ample justification to end or retract elements that don't add fun to play, or that threaten the balance and or cohesiveness of the campaign.
Just retcon it like a comic book.
That's
just
right.
say it was a multiverse mix-up, and the version of Spider-Man that you liked best is back.
And this is funny because this is before. Well, hang on. Sorry, I'm not actually enough of a comic.
Crisis on Infinite Earths.
I
don't know when that was.
Some of the bigger ones, House of M, and I believe Crisis on Infinite Earths, came after this, and that is exactly what they did. They were like, well, there's infinite universes, so we can get rid of some superheroes we don't like. We can retcon some things that people didn't like. Bing, bang, boom. In universe, start from scratch. Greenwood is correct. This is a great tool for getting things back on track if they happen. Rick and Morty has a whole running gag about this. Constantly moving to to New Worlds and replacing the Rick and Morty there, and it's also really fucked up and distressing, which is the correct response to
who?
Traveling.
Sorry, I don't own a television.
Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty.
Pickle.
I'll write that
Rick.
down. I'll watch it. I'll watch it next time I'm at a television bar.
Yeah, watch it next time you're at your grandparents' house.
Yeah. I'll say, barkeep, please turn it to the Rick and Morty.
Rick
show,
and Frickin'
please.
Morty. In my own Forgotten Realms campaign,
Ooh.
similarities between the
Do
world
tell
we
us
all
more.
the world we all live in and the AD&D fantasy world, such as chronology, fighting tactics, and legends of beasts such as dragons and vampires, are all accounted for by the existence of connections between the two worlds. These connections were once well and often used, but are now largely forgotten. Hence, Forgotten Realms.
Oh.
By those on our side, that is, this side, the modern one, with progress and pollution and such. But some few quietly walk our earth who know the realms well.
All right, we all know Elminster's going to show up in your kitchen and he talks to you. Okay, but I guess the real Forgotten Realms was Earth all along.
That's right. He goes on and on about...
They didn't listen. When I was reading the box text, they didn't listen.
Interplanar travel and gates and things like that. It's all like decently good advice.
Yeah, why are you playing Dungeons & Dragons if you don't add a little bit of planes in it, you know?
Right. If a DM lacks the time, so skipping ahead a bit, if the DM lacks the time or the confidence to work out a detailed social situation, or wishes to utilize commercial modules when placing them in his existing world, or wishes to use commercial modules, when placing them in his existing world would disrupt affairs greatly, the Anchorome campaign is a solution.
What?
This campaign, named for a legendary island far over the sea to the west, further from the mainland than most sailors ever dare to go, is simplicity itself. The party is provided with, hired, conscripted, ordered, or bequeathed a ship. This vessel, if properly maintained, is adequate for them to live on, and to carry a respectable amount of trade cargo. Due to the menace of pirates or warships, or because of a storm, or because rumors of treasure are eagerly followed by the party, the ship is sent off the normal trade routes into the unknown. Play can include a single voyage, like that of C.S. Lewis's Dawn Treader, or, like the owners of a traveler-free trader, the party can carry on voyages for many years, concerned with trade, continually provisioning and maintaining the ship, avoiding seizure and shipwreck, and so on.
Brilliant stuff. Just give them a ship, and you tell them what island they show up next.
Yeah. So Greenwood here has sort of laid out a bunch of like basic and very good job, but like very, very basic like DM advice for novice DMs. I mean, like we mentioned, there isn't actually a lot of this to begin with. And so Greenwood is saying, hey, noobs, here's some ideas for you.
I'm not going to say like in the AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide, there's not a bunch of good advice, because there is, right?
There is.
Most of it is taken up with
you gotta
other
work
concerns.
for it, though. You know?
You do. But this column, pound for pound, word for word, I think could replace any chunk in the DM's guide.
Whatever the precise campaign setting, the success of play depends on the players and the skill of the DM. In particular, the care and extent of the DM's work outside of actual play. This is good advice. It seems obvious, but for better or for worse, the DM has a lot to do outside of actual play that has a lot of impact on the game, and that hard work, unappreciated by your players, unseen, but we see you. We see you. I see. Wait, what's that? Is that from Avatar? Am I doing an Avatar thing? I see you.
All right.
A sterling example
plug your
of the
brain tail back into the microphone, Rob. Come on.
A sterling example of the depth displayed by a well-crafted, detailed world and the life such a world seems to take on is in Tolkien's Unfinished Tales. A few areas of special importance and concern in world making will be discussed below and in future articles. It is a good example, and for all of Tolkien's flaws, one of the reasons why the book endures, why people love it, why it feels so wonderful and alive, is because Tolkien laid a massive... In what?
It's because of the songs.
The songs, mostly.
Yeah. No, Tolkien... Sorry.
Listen, boots are fuck. I forgot it. His boots or something. His jacket yellow. My very
hey
famous.
ho, merry doll, ring a dong dillo.
It's because Tolkien laid a huge invisible foundation for his books, which make them feel alive.
One of the saddest moments of my 14-year-old life was finishing reading Lord of the Rings, right? And then discovering at the library, on their database, that's oh, there's 12 books called The History of Middle Earth. And I'm like, oh shit, they're all stories like this. I'm going to read all of them. This is the things. And then discovery is just Christopher Tolkien compiling his dad's letters. And I'm like, oh, damn.
Yep.
That sucks.
Yep.
I'm so disappointed.
The quick aside, but I think that here's my brief interjection on modern fandom. I just don't think they've been disappointed often enough. I think all of the stands, all of the fans out there that are getting all in a tizzy about Star Wars or Harry Potter or whatever, they did not suffer enough disappointment, and so they became too attached.
You expect too much from your stories and fiction.
Yeah,
how dare you?
You did not have to become deeply attached to a fantasy series only to find that there was nothing else and the author was dead and his son was not up to the task. That happened in two separate occasions for me. You also didn't wait a decade or more after discovering Star Wars to go opening night to The Phantom Menace only to realize that it was not actually very good and have to sort of remake your entire identity. The point I'm making here is that modern day fans, they're soft, they're weak, and that's why they're behaving like spoiled children. So get used to disappointment. Anyway,
that's right.
Back on track. The Dungeon Master's Guide warns the DM that time records must be kept in any meaningful campaign. Okay. Too few DMs realize this or bother to undertake the work to make it so, or that this timekeeping should be extended to the movement and activities of all rulers and other important NPCs, the locations of all active and potential warriors, particularly mercenaries, valuable trade goods, and the ongoing enactment of political policies, orders, encounters, and the spread of information, not just the training times and monetary expenditures of the player characters.
Okay. So,
so create yourself a Europa Universalis simulation to run in the background of your game, just so that you know where all the trade goods are at any point in time.
I guess I'll just read from one of Ed Greenwood's other works. In this empire, the art of cartography was taken to such a peak of perfection that the map of a single province took up an entire city, and the map of the empire an entire province. In time, these oversized maps outlived their usefulness, and the College of Cartographers drew a map of the empire equal in format to the empire itself, coinciding with it point by point. Yes, you need to build a map of the world the size of the world.
Yes, minimum.
And of course, that's Borges, not Greenwood. But you get the point.
The lure of the lost and forgotten is an interest-producing facet of play well known to most DMs, at least on the level of the hunt for buried treasure. But few see the potential of ancient records, histories, and tomes of lore as a source of hints to treasure location, clues to the identity and present whereabouts of now dead or undead kings, magic users, and other important individuals, partial spell or artifact knowledge, and background lore. The DM...
Time out. Here's, I think, the important point where, and I'm sure... I can't imagine that Ed Greenwood did this in his actual campaign where he kept people around for 20 years, right? Is that... It still just comes back to getting treasure for your characters, not about something else.
That's what I noticed as well. Everything was this relates to how you can get treasure or beat a bad guy. That's and he even has to make an argument for why that matters for getting treasure or being a bad guy. There's no value in it unless it somehow has material benefit for the player.
And
is Ed Greenwood a Marxist? Is he
right?
A dialectical materialist? The only reason anyone would do anything is if there's material benefit.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, there is no There is no structure above or
That's right. The DM can have great fun composing such works. The players will gain much from them, and play should improve. Too many players find and survive the opening of books and dungeons, only to find that they hold yet another illegible diary or accountant's ledger. Excuse me, Ed. I love.
I'm feeling very guilty here.
I love an accountant's ledger. Or worse yet, expect from experience that every book found will be a spellbook or magic item, book, codex, grimoire, librum, manual, or tome from the DMG. Many DMs miss a great chance to spice up play by... Oh, sorry. So, before I go on to this next bit,
yes.
it's just it's amazing. You know, Greenwood, he has actually given very good advice thus far, but he himself clearly fell into the trap of infinite world building. And you know, the advice that he's giving could very easily be paralyzing for a new DM if you try to do everything that
tracking
he says
the moves
that you should do.
of trade goods while the players are like, you can't build a world that is as real as the real world. You can't even track the real world that closely. That's insane. Anyway, but yeah, it's I think this article proves the point of like, what can someone who is really good at something, right? Dare we even say like a prodigy, a genius at what he was doing, transcend the limitations of his or her time. And he's butting up against them.
Yeah. So we're nearing the end here. There's a few more things. Greenwood gives a couple of paragraphs to thieves and how to put things in the game for thieves. He says, I think correctly, many DMs miss a great chance to spice up play by sliding an entire character class, thieves, which is funny.
It's true.
Because, again, modern day D&D no longer suffers from this, but for most of Dungeons & Dragons' existence, rogues, and before them, thieves came with some very precise abilities that only they had and were useful in, again, mostly with dungeon crawling. And if you did not put them in a dungeon, big chunks of their character were useless. This is bad class design. This is bad game design. And it persisted
Backstab, very limited.
Very limited. Find traps, you know, disable traps. Like, for decades, people would pick rogue or thief because you had to have somebody to disable traps and no other reason. And terrible game design, terrible class design. Anyway, it is no longer the case. Rogues can do things now that are good. Yeah, it's
from playing second edition and first edition, and this will make a lot of people mad at me. It always felt like fighters and wizards were the classes that were around to have fun and do cool things, and then a party needed a thief and a cleric to basically do upkeep.
Yep.
So
that's how I felt as well. Only one more topic is essential in the DM's primer, so this is funny. Of all the things that Ed Greenwood has mentioned, you know, geography, trade routes, ancient ruins.
I'm on the edge of my seat for this last one. It's going to be like sex.
It's politics. Aside from, well, also it's funny because like there's actually a lot of other things that you should mention, but you know, the other things that Ed Greenwood thinks are important. Also, interstellar or interplanar travel came before politics. In, you know, there's no like society or gender roles or it doesn't matter.
Food.
Aside from personal feuds and rivalries, there's always a struggle for power surrounding the government of any kingdom worth having. The legitimate king is dead. Perhaps also, you'll notice, only kings in Ed Greenwood's world. There's only kings.
No other sister. Listen, you know, it's like the famous scholar said, right? Monarchies, male only monarchies are the worst political system we can have, but they're better than all the rest.
Except for all the
world
others.
building.
Yes. So. The legitimate king is dead, perhaps, or senile, and his 3 known sons, plus another 2 claimants who may be illegitimate sons of the king, or only, however, unwittingly imposters. Greenwood really loves like putting big long sentences in paragraphs or in parentheses in his big long sentences.
Don't do this.
They all battle for the throne in the political arena of councils.
Just like all the clauses in my sentence, battle for supremacy. What the fuck is going on?
And by wooing various nobles or power groups as patrons, and then increasingly by means of daggers in dark corridors and bared swords on the high roads. The players, as all others in the land, must choose sides in this struggle, and if their choice is ill, they may fare accordingly. Such a war of succession, as illustrated in Roger Zelazny's Amber series, for example, may go on for years, as rival claimants go into hiding, emerge to win the throne in a bloody ambush or midnight murder, and fall in their turn to the next usurper. And, of course, a kingdom so weakened will be inviting to neighboring states wishing to expand, or the non-human tribes who have bided their time in the mountains, forests, and swampy valleys of the north, waiting to reclaim the land that was once theirs.
A 25-year-old George R. R. Martin is just in, like, the industrial wasteland of New Jersey, like, just furiously jacking off as he reads this. He's like, yes.
You'll notice that, of course, the non-human tribes can't be the kings themselves. They can only like lurk on the outside to barbarically, savagely seize the civilized lands of humans. A royal struggle need not be so widespread, however. Some such struggles will never actively pass beyond the walls of the palace, such as the nasty situation which arises when the monarch's eldest child is female and a younger brother, as the eldest male descendant, believes he should have the throne.
It's always crazy just like how like for like 200 years, every other czar of Russia was a woman. Like it's just
there were several female monarchs in a row, or not in a row, but like, you know, shortly thereafter of England, and everyone was fine with it.
Yeah.
You just it doesn't necessarily mean a succession crisis. You just, you know, if they're a good ruler and the king says, this is my heir, then it's fine. You know, it's just fine. If the DM does not favor large monsters or wilderness adventuring, a vast complex castle with forgotten passages and dungeons and old many-layered intrigue may prove an ideal dungeon setting. The players need never even see the light of day. If one thinks Greenwood here is intimating a mega dungeon, whether he knows it or not. If one thinks a castle setting limiting, consider the action in Howard's Red Nails, or Goldman's The Lion in Winter, or the possibilities offered by the half-ruined labyrinthine citadel in Wolfe's Shadow of the Torturer. I
have not read any of these.
I have read Shadow of the Torturer. It's actually really good. What's the name of the? This is the this is Gene Wolfe. This is the Book of the New Sun. Weird as fuck. I love these books. Lion in Winter is a great movie.
Not on the podcast. You were telling me about these.
They're actually really hard to find. But this is where Terminus Est and a bunch of this is relevant to you if you're D&D nerds. Gene Wolfe was very influential on a lot of fantasy and a lot of D&D. Lion in Winter is a great movie starring Peter Toole and a very young Anthony Hopkins, and who else is in it? Catherine Hepburn. Sorry, Catherine Hepburn.
One of the most famous Catherines.
Matronly. Anyway, it's about Henry III and his sons, and it's terrific. Overwrought. Watch this movie. It's great. It's a Christmas movie. Anyway, back on track. Understanding why one kingdom is stronger than or opposed to another, and why one mountain pass is strategically important and another not, is essential to the DM. If players are to affect the status quo without always coming into direct contact with or becoming rulers. Listeners, allow me to say it's not. It is not essential to being a DM. It is helpful and interesting. If anything, in terms of world building, is essential to being a DM, it is understanding people and interpersonal relations. But even that is not essential. But that's okay. We'll give Greenwood a pass. It's good for world building to know these things.
It's good for play, right?
Yes.
In that it's always good to give your players a tangible thing, leverage that they can get to.
That's right. An endless diet of kings and princesses and wicked nobles reduces the excitement and interest of the trappings and traditions of power, and if the DM can't come up with alternatives, dooms a campaign to increasingly dull and bland play. A good guide for the novice DM to judge the depth and interest of his or her campaign is to consider its elements and events without the players and their characters and deeds. Is the setting, bereft of player involvement, still interesting enough to be the stuff of which tales are made? This is good advice, but there's two parts to it. Okay?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I agree with Ed Greenwood. Your setting should not exist just as a playground for the players, right? It should make sense without their input. That being said, the players' input should matter. There are role-playing game campaigns and games where nothing the players do really affects the outcome.
Yes.
They're just sort of
even publish modules.
Yes. That's also bad. But these are both important things to consider.
Yeah, it's like if we could rewrite that sentence to be like, is your world still interesting enough to be the stuff of which tales are made? And if you play in it, will the player's tale be the most interesting tale of all?
Mm-hmm. Also on this page, there is another ad for a electronic D4, D6, D8, D12, D20, D100 dice wand called
Holy
Dragon
shit.
Bone and Dragon Tooth.
Wow.
Anyway.
This one looks like you turn a dial, shake it, and then one of the lights light up.
That's what I believe is happening. Yes.
It sort of looks like a marital aid, to use
it
the
does look like
term.
Yes. So if the setting is not interesting enough to be the stuff of which tales are made, something must be done. And yet, if the action of the world must not be entirely divorced from the actions and interests of player characters, the play of the campaign must be concerned with them, and the overall tapestry of events of the world should be affected by them, more so as the players grow in experience levels and the players in playing experience. Jesus Christ, Ed Greenwood. That sentence is a travesty. Anyway. On the other hand, the DM must avoid any tendency of events to halt in mid-action when adventuring stops, coming to life only when player characters walk on stage to do battle. I always thought it odd that enemies would lay low at the same time as player characters trained... at the same time that player characters trained or recovered from wounds, and that no one fell upon the unprotected treasure of player characters while they were off training. This is good advice, and also this is how you stop your players from abusing rest. You say, well, some things happen while you're taking your fifth rest of this dungeon. Right. The bad guys move on. Goblins, surround you.
It's been an hour. They set the traps back up, I guess.
This is a useful part of having a real living world, is that, if players do things that seem silly and gamey, is that the real living world responds thusly. Note that
it is useful. I think interesting to know that, like, in the era before, big open world video games that every one of our player characters have, like, for the most part, like, cut their teeth on.
Yeah.
That people still had the problem of being like, hey, gaminess, I'm gonna go train to get this skill, and then we're gonna come back.
Yeah. Note that players need not be made aware of all the DM's work in creating nearby characters, groups, and activities. They can learn what they will as play proceeds. Indeed, a degree of mystery builds interest more than any other quality of a campaign. Too much will frustrate players, however. The DM must find the proper amount, while bearing in mind that several small, simultaneous mysteries are better than one grand mystery after another. Mysteries also leave a...
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with that as well. That's a good piece of advice. Mysteries also leave a DM room to modify his campaign to respond to player desires and achievements, and to avoid or explain a way around apparent contradictions. This is excellent advice. I agree with Ed Greenwood strongly right here. Leave some things open, not too much, but enough to give you room to maneuver. That's exactly the point of, like, leaving some things open-ended. Ed Greenwood concludes by saying, and every long-running campaign will have such gray areas no matter how intricately developed. It is before the onset of play. For 6 days, a DM labors mightily to create a world and breathe life into it, but the world he creates is, alas, not perfect. And by the 7th day, that DM has certainly earned a rest.
Well, if you don't know how to conclude your long, rambling article, just put one of those at the end.
Yeah.
Well, this was really refreshing. We've had a lot of just bizarre or shitty old dragon dungeon articles, and this one was really nice.
This one was nice. This was good advice from Ed Greenwood. Some stuff I disagreed with, but all in all, it was. I mean, I hope you all enjoyed this. I really liked seeing that Ed Greenwood and probably others like him were thinking about and worrying about the same things that we're still grappling with. That's both kind of frustrating, but also encouraging. You know, he didn't have the same decades of terminology and experience to talk about it the way that we do, but it's the same issues.
Or the idea of a rule set that wasn't just for combat and picking locks.
It was neat to read that he had a game where sometimes they didn't even roll dice, which I'm not sure that Gygax would have ever said or endorsed.
Yeah, no, fuck no.
Yeah. But, you know, there are other old timers who appreciated the flexibility of role-playing games in better ways. And yeah.
And I mean, I don't think we should be too frustrating that people are still dealing with the
same
things.
No.
We should be frustrated that there aren't better books and descriptions and help advice. But, you know, grappling with these things is it's like, oh, why haven't we figured out how to write the perfect novel yet? Well,
no. These challenges, like the poor Matt, will always be with us. But
we're just ending our episode on a Bible reference too. Just like
only 3 things in life are certain, Matt: death, taxes, and your players are going to be upset because you told them that there was an ogre in front of them on the road.
Yeah. And it's nice to. I was just thinking back to our railroading episode because of what you said earlier, and it's nice that I don't know if we talked about this enough in that episode, but right, thinking about not railroading your world building is useful too, right, on this like macro scale, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course, like the big flaw here is if you take Ed Greenwood's advice all exactly as he has given it, you're never going to succeed unless you also build the Forgotten Realms, right?
Right.
Unless you also create a magnum opus 20 years in the making of a campaign setting.
Right. So take this advice with a grain of salt. You know, I think we
and maybe you will. Maybe one of our listeners will write the next. It's like the next Great American Novel.
I mean, that's the thing is that Forgotten Realms is wonderful. It's not my favorite, but it's wonderful. We love Eberron, and Keith Baker has done all of this and then some. There are other campaign settings that really benefit from being overwritten, right? If you have it in you to write a magnum opus of this level and set a game in it, that's good. My advice is always to like not wait to do the magnum opus to play the game. You know, we want you to play Dungeons and Dragons. If you can do some of this or part of this before starting, that's great. But don't wait until you have written everything that there is to know about your, you know, perfectly designed world to actually start playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Right. I read a lot of like world building forums and advice columns and things like that, Rob. And it's always like 5% of it is, you know, people sharing what they put together for a novel they are actually writing and is most of the way done. 10% dungeon masters, you know, sharing cool maps they made. And then the other 85% is people meticulously, you know, building a map of the empire, the size of the empire itself, for something that no one else will ever see or be able to digest. Now, is that a bad thing? No, I mean, they're obviously having fun doing something creative, but, our goal is always to play an actual game.
Yeah. So I hope you all found this interesting. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being our wonderful patrons.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And Rob, our August reward is, drum
we
roll.
have a Discord server,
Yes.
and there is a link to it in the Patreon page, also on our Twitter profile. Go there. Let me know either in Patreon or in Discord that you are a patron, and I will add you to the secret Patreon-only channel, where you can yell at us directly or ask us questions or give suggestions for what we should talk about or just feel superior, whatever you want.
Yeah, it's like, remember when the iPhone first came out and they made an app that was just cost $100 and it was a picture of a diamond? It's basically that.
It's basically that, yeah. But honestly, thank you all for your support. You helped. You're helping us do a lot of things. We're coming up with some new cool stuff. We're going to be able to pay guests and artists and do more cool things. So we deeply and greatly appreciate your support, and there are many more cool new things coming.
Yes. All right. Thanks everyone for listening.
Thanks for listening. Keep rolling them dice.